Let's take a look at how we can add all the interface elements, and then we will rotate everything into position. Why also do we do the rotation at the end? Now you remember the one side where the interface elements are is higher, and then to the front where the hand would be, everything is lower. So this whole surface is rotated. Well, the main reason is this is a vertical surface, and when I want to cut elements in there for the lightning port, etc., they only have to be rotated 90 degrees. Makes it a lot easier. And then later I rotate everything. Okay, so with that said, let's go to edit mode. We will go to face, select this face, Shift S, cursor to selected. You see then this way the cursor is vertically and horizontally perfectly centered, which is great because now I could go ahead and say go object mode, and then I go add a plane. This plane I will make 8 millimeters by 2 millimeters, rotate along X by 90. Very nice. So this is the left and right width. That is good. Then I can go into edit mode and add my circle to it. Or what I will do is just I actually keep this as a snapping reference. I in object mode go add mesh circle. 1 millimeter. Yeah, this is all good. 32 rotation 90. There we are. Hard to see. Let's go to wireframe mode. Zoom in a little bit. There we are. Much easier. The reason why I added this rectangle as an object is with the circle selected, we go into edit mode, go to point select, go to front view, zoom in more. Deselect nothing, select just 1/2. I would like to rip this off, or think about like a scissor, the bottom and the top. I cut this circle into 2 arcs. We can do this by pressing the Y key. So Y. You see now these edges are black, meaning they're not highlighted, meaning it's not connected anymore. Point select, very good. Move command and move this over, hold control, snap. There we are. Okay. Yeah, close. One more time. And yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. Okay, this way, this works. Now keep in mind, this whole circle has a diameter of 2, so a radius of 1. This means this is 1 millimeter. And for the software, for whatever reason, this snapping right now doesn't work. But this snapping works, so this point goes to there. When this is 1 millimeter only, okay, I have to move this over by -1. Snapping, or the software always needs to, or these programs need to identify and find snapping targets. And sometimes that can work really well. Sometimes it's a little bit more finicky. Now, seeing the grid here already, I can see, so when this whole thing should be 8 millimeters. So 1, 2, 3 millimeters, this whole thing has to be moved over. So click somewhere else, select this, go to move. We could go to increment, absolute grid snapping, move this over, hold control. And oh, this is interesting. Why does it snap that way? It shouldn't really. Okay. Undo. This is interesting. Let's try this one more time. So Ah, it tries to, okay, yeah. It snaps to the grid, but this is actually the center, you see. So this tool is right to there. Okay, so which means a few more undos. Let's select this. Well, how can we do this? Easy. This has to go 3 millimeters over. Okay, so we go move 3 millimeters minus 3. There we are. Easy. Okay. On purpose, I also leave these mistakes in when I try something out. Just as a reminder, only because I do this since years does not mean I have everything memorized. Sometimes I forget, and sometimes I make a wrong assumption. Sometimes the software doesn't work the way how I want it. And then you need to figure out, well, okay, how can I do this otherwise? That's the reason why I leave this these parts in the videos where you see that I'm trying to figure out, well, what works. Because it's always good if one way doesn't work, you have an alternative way. Now, with all this done, we can go to a 3D view, view frame selected, then top and top. We select, press F, press A to select everything, press F. There we have the whole piece selected. Very nice. Then we go to object mode. This rectangle we don't need anymore. We can delete it via the delete key or X. Select this. Go to modifier, solidify 10 even thickness, but actually go to the opposite way and along Y move by 1 millimeter. Again, I use just a very clean value, so if I have to move this later back, I know it's just 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, even steps. This thing here we can call port. It's kind of like the lightning port. Also, from time to time, don't forget and save. There we are. Right click, shade smooth. And add the outer smooth. Then we can select our base. Go to modifier and Boolean and cut this one out. Well, we don't see anything because this is hiding it. Let's call this Trackpad. Then we make a new collection. And this part we move in there, and this collection we call trim. And we can even hide this. So it's gone. There we are. Cool. Okay, now that wasn't too complicated. Let's make the opening for the antenna. The antenna object basically has the same height, the same edge rounding, but is 58 millimeter wide. Okay, so we start with a plane. Again, this Y is 2. And then this now is 58. We rotate this. Can bring this over. How much do we move this over? Minus 40. Yeah, I don't know how much. So now I'm trying to plan out. We need to add also the other part on the left side. So maybe minus 41. So kind of like I'm lining this up with the grid. Maybe minus 45. This is maybe too much. Minus 44. Okay, this looks good. So I'm just trying to see that this actually lines up here with a grid. I keep that in mind. Cool. Okay, now with this thing there, Shift S cursor to the selected. So the cursor switched to this object. Shift A, circle, same thing. Settings, 90. Then I can go into edit mode. There we are. Front view. select only this and Y to rip it off. Move this over, hold, oh, and snap. Now there it doesn't work. Okay, but I now move it out, snap it in there, bring this in by 1 millimeter, makes it very easy. AAB is actually this command. So B, bring this over, snap this to there, and then GX1 in this case moves this in. AF. Oh yeah, perfect. We can select these two left and right elements. With A, select everything. With F, we fill it. There we are. Then this element we can remove. We can call this an antenna. Also here, we move this out by 1 millimeter. And then we give this a solidify modifier by 1.25, even thickness the opposite way. So it just sinks in a little bit. Shade smooth. There we are. And save. And then the antenna. Oops. We move in there. Okay. So we could go select our frame object. There's our Boolean for the port. We could add another Boolean and then here say antenna. Now you see it cut a really small tiny groove. Pretty nice, no? Okay. Now we need to do the on the left side actually the on-off switch. So here we see 1, 2, 3 cubes on the left cube. Okay, very good. So that was actually important. I will add myself another circle. Then I move this over to here. There we are. I have to rotate this one by R and 90. Because I moved this one freely, it's not snapped right onto the grid. Here, X location, that snaps the object center to the grid. Edit mode, AA, B, select all this, Y, and here move this over, press 1, negative, enter, press A and F, all is selected and filled. Very good. And go back to object mode, move this over by 1, Z and solid view, then solidify, where is it? There. Minus, sorry, not thickness, thickness is 3, opposite direction, actually maybe 2, that seems fine, very good. Right click, shade smooth, and oops, that was the wrong one, normal's there. So now I only need to make sure that this edge is the same like here. So Z and wireframe mode, so what was it, like 3 cubes in. In this case, no, I can actually use the grid snapping because it snaps the object center point. So 1 cube, 2, 3. There we are. Okay, actually 2 till the fillet. Let's double check. 2 to the fillet. Very good. So this we will call slider. Maybe space and bring this to there. Let's save. And I would like to show you something different now. So this and this I turn off. Go to Boolean Modifier. And instead of operand type object, we say collection. And then we select trim. Wow, what happened? It did actually all these commands. No, it did not all these commands. It simply selected all the objects in there and cut it out. So this is much, much easier, as you can see, than having to add all these Boolean commands over and over again. We simply select a collection. So it's really nice. Just also here as a reminder, when I move this, there you see it actually moves with it. So super nice. Good. Okay, so we need to have a small object that can slide left and right. Now that's very easy to do. Where the 3D cursor is, we will create a cylinder, or we can do this. Select this, because there's my object center point. Shift S, cursor to selected. There we are. Shift A, cylinder. 32, that's what we also used for the cuts. Radius 1, depth 2, rotation X 90. Let's see how this looks. So it sits on the outside, which means depth we make 1.25. Right click, shade smooth. There. And this we go to edge select, and along the y-axis move and snap to there. Hold control, release the left mouse key, there we are. And then there's our slider. Cool. Again, this is, as you can see, not super clean, precise geometry. But what we do here is learn how to use mesh modeling to very quickly play through ideas. So this last step is a little bit of industrial design, interface design. Now, how do I interact? Where are the components? This is all a lot of design thinking that has to be done first before then we really jump into something like Rhino or Alias or Fusion and do an elaborate and precise CAD model, because that takes time. So let's save. We have one task left. We need to rotate everything. And I will turn this here on because I will do the following. I will select these 2, 3 objects that do a cut. Then I select my base, go object, and say parent to it. You know, with parenting, when I select now the space and I move it, my modifier objects follow it. I will also do the same with my trackpad and this spacer that is in between. Shift select the frame, object, and parent. Okay, so that is pretty good. Now I would like this whole object to rotate, but where my cursor is, that is where it should actually rotate around. And ideally I want to rotate everything and then rotate it back. Modify it, rotate it into position, rotate it back. To do this, I will select my frame, edit mode. Now I will select just this lower edge, Shift S, cursor to the selected. You see it's moved to there, center point of this edge, object mode, and then right click and say origin to 3D cursor. Let me undo this one more time, because here's also the 3D cursor command. I can click and move this around, and also based on snapping, when I hold control, I can snap it too. So that works. But how do I find here the midpoint. There is also here an edge center point. So when I move, hold control. Yeah, so that should be the edge center point. So this way, then we don't have to go into edit mode and object mode. We can just do this right from the outside. If I would need to snap it right to a point, I could do this, or to a face. Now this is now on top of the face. Snap to the center. Yeah, it snaps. That's kind of like the downside. It doesn't really find the like center points, which is why if I would want here to find the center point of a face, I would select the face, Shift S, cursor to selected. Now, so there, that's the best and most secure way. Or here, edit mode, edge select, Shift S, cursor to selected, object mode, right click, and origin to 3D cursor. So the main reason why we set the 3D cursor, and the origin to this edge is now when I look to the side and I press R for rotate, you see that all rotates with it. Oh, actually not this one, we forgot this. So you shift my frame object and parent, very good. So let's go to a side view again. By the way, you saw I started switching my views without clicking on this. I just use 1, 3, and 7 on my numpad, and 5 for perspective or orthographic. Slowly we'll start using the key shortcuts more because they are accelerating, making you work much faster. So R for rotate. In the side view, you see that all follows it. Okay, so R and 3 degrees. That is good. The only problem is, well, all the stuff here at the bottom is not good. So we will do the following. This frame object we will hide. Then I will select my object here, Shift S, cursor to selected. Yeah, very good. And add plane. This plane is pretty big. Go to move command, move up and down, hold control and snap it right on top of this bottom element. I can press S and scale this down a little bit more. And let's do an orientation check. So red is at the bottom. That should be exactly what I need because that is the cutting surface. I call this now frame trim. Alt H to unhide. I select my frame. Then that's safe. And this trim, I will try and push in here and see what will happen if this could work. It does not happen, not a big deal. Okay, undo, so Control Z to move this back. What we'll do is simply, here we have one Boolean, we can call this interface. So we know what is this Boolean command doing. And then we add one more Boolean, and here we can call this bottom trim. And here we do this manually this way. There, look at that. Bottom is cleaned up. So why did we do this breakup into two? Here inside this collection, we have volumes, and now here we have a surface. So it's a little bit probably difficult for the software to understand what is going on, because there's also no step-by-step. Blender here selects all the objects which are inside this trim folder and cuts them out. This plane here, if we want to make it less difficult to see, we turn this into a wire display. There we are. We can make a new collection. We can call this trim. How do we do this? Here, let's do this. We call this solids. And then this we call trim. I renamed this one first into solids because when I go to here and go to this Boolean, you see it says solids. So this frame trim I can drag into this trim collection. Solids I can drag in there. Keep this on, but turn everything off. So this is more sorted and everything is blue, which means this is perfect. Yeah, and there we have actually now our trackpad. Beautifully designed, very clean orientations, everything is correct. And again, the main reason why we parented everything and then rotated the object. Let's say I want to do manipulations, add more stuff. Okay, make it easy, so straight vertical walls, and then later we can parent all the stuff, rotate it. And because this is a modifier stack, it starts recutting everything for me. Technically speaking, and we can maybe see this. Yeah, you see this is a little bit thicker. This is thinner. So this edge of the bottom plate would need to be moved up a little bit. In our case, this really doesn't matter. This is again then being more precise. This is not the conceptual part anymore, so we can ignore that problem. But otherwise, this is a really nice concept model. And that's it.